Hi. So I was talking to a friend the other day who was struggling with their ex. And this is a tough situation when you have a child or children from a previous relationship and you're no longer in that relationship and possibly have moved on to another relationship, but you still have this ex in your life because you're tied to them through your children. And this is something that I have personally gone through. I went through a divorce and I have 2 children. And it was really tough. And I know that a lot of my friends deal with struggles with their ex and don't know how to make it better, how to get along. And I thought that I just had some ideas because my situation was I was in that position when we first split up. I was struggling with how my kids felt. I was struggling with how I felt, how he felt. There was a lot of upset, a lot of feeling vulnerable and, let's just say, hurt feelings in the beginning. And it's hard to get over that, and sometimes that just goes on and on and on, and there isn't resolve or healing that happens. And I can say for myself, I worked through a lot of that, and because of that, now we have a good relationship. We can talk to each other and make our plans and work together for the best good of our children, which is really, that's really the motivation. And we don't want to deal with the consternation of having to struggle with this person that we're kind of forced to continue to deal with. We want it to be more peaceful, obviously. So the first thing that I wanted to say that was huge for me was how I was looking at my children. So in the beginning, I was feeling my children, they were going through this transition, and I was feeling like they were vulnerable, and I was feeling sorry for them. I was feeling guilt for what I had put them through. I was feeling like I didn't know how life was going to be when I wasn't there. And so what we can tend to do is when we feel sorry for our children, we're blaming our ex-partner or their parent, their other parent. We're blaming them for creating this this unhappiness maybe with our children. And the issue with that is when we start to feel bad for our children and what they're having to go through, or how we're perceiving what they are going through when they are at their other parent's house, is we start to see the other parent kind of as a monster, or as someone that is not good enough for our kids, or not treating our kids well enough, or whatever it is. We're not feeling good about the other parent. And the root of that is we're feeling sorry for our child. And the issue with when we feel sorry for our children is that, first of all, feeling sorry for anybody weakens them. It doesn't send them positive, supportive energy. It sends them weak, unsupportive energy. And, we tend to do this with children because we think, oh, they're young and they're vulnerable. And the truth is we pick our parents. I'm adopted, so I pick 2 sets of parents. And that's a tough one sometimes to really acknowledge and integrate and believe. But we have freedom of choice. And on the soul level, before we come into the human form, we lay out blueprints for how we want our life to be. Now, we have a lot of freedom within that, but initially we pick the parents that match the experiences that we are choosing to have in this lifetime. So the truth is your children picked their parents, just like we picked our parents. And this helped me a lot because it made me realize that I didn't have to protect my children from the experiences that they are going to have with their father. That they were going to learn and be able to feel through those experiences and grow because of them, because we come into human form from the non-physical so that we can experience contrast, because contrast helps us grow. And how we learn to handle the contrast is the most significant part of how well or happy our lives are. So that was a big thing for me to learn, was to not see my children as vulnerable, but to see them as strong, and to see that if there was something going on in the other household, I mean, granted, if it's real extreme, that's a different matter, but if it's like if they're actually in danger, but if it's just stuff that we don't agree with, that I was able to let a lot of that go and realize that my children were going to figure out what felt good to them and what didn't feel good to them. We've all experienced this. None of us had a super happy life the whole entire time. We all had struggles, and everyone is human. and this is just part of life. And it's part of life that we decided to experience. So that helped me let go of feeling vulnerable for my children and feeling vulnerable to my partner, my ex-partner. And that energetically helped me get into a better place with him. When we see our children also as vulnerable, it's not the vibrational place that we want to be in. It's a low vibrational place. And if we know that we're attracting through our vibration, then we know that those low vibrational feelings are not helping us attract what we want to manifest or create in our reality. The other thing to remember, just kind of in general, is, and this is a really tough one, and it's one that I continue to integrate on deeper and deeper levels, is that there truly are no victims in this universe, that we are creating everything that we are experiencing. Whether we do it intentionally or not is up for grabs, because we can be doing it intentionally, but oftentimes we don't, because we don't realize that we can be. But no matter whether you realize how to create or you're just doing it randomly, you are still creating your reality. So what your children are experiencing and what you are experiencing and what your ex-partner is experiencing, it's all co-creative. So another thing to be aware of is that when you're having a negative experience with your ex, it's coming from their wounds and from your wounds. And so you will find that where you have the most wounding and where you feel the most vulnerable is where you will have the most problems and the biggest reactions. And so keeping that in mind, that can help us be aware. So if we find that we are being triggered about certain things, that can be our clue. Another thing to remember is your ego is always trying to protect your wounded parts, your wounded inner children. So wherever you feel yourself get triggered, or another way to put it is wherever you feel your ego kind of rise up to protect you, whenever you feel reactionary in that way, that is covering up wounds for you. And you wouldn't even be attracting these into your life if you weren't vibrating there. So in order to create something different, a different experience with that person, you have to look at the wounding. You have to be aware that there is something there that is holding you in that vibrational set point, and you're going to keep being inundated with these experiences that are unpleasant because you're vibrating out the match to that's coming in. So to be able to start being aware of what the underlying wound is can help you to heal it. And there are many ways to go about healing our wounds. I would say the very first and best way is to send them love, is to send them understanding, nurturing love, and allow them to be made conscious. And then as they are made conscious, I do not believe in deep shadow work personally. I think that if that resonates with you, that's fine. I personally think that sometimes we can get stuck in it. So I like to send love and light to those parts of myself where I am showing that I care and I love myself. And sometimes that's all you need, is to become conscious of it, send those feelings love, and then they're able to release and let go. Or just maybe they'll give you more information about yourself that helps you through this process of healing. So when we do that and we release those pent-up energetic wounds or feelings, what happens is we become less reactive, or we don't even rendezvous with those experiences anymore. But the other thing to remember is, if you are still feeling yourself kind of rise up, feel yourself being triggered, you're like, okay, here it comes, I'm feeling it. If you can, try and not let yourself go there. You can acknowledge it within yourself. You can take a moment and say, all right, I'm aware that this is triggering me, and I have wounding here. Otherwise it wouldn't trigger me. But I'm going to remain calm, and I'm going to take note of this, and I'm going to deal with this on my own. But right now I'm going to focus on not reacting. Because when somebody is doing something that's bothering you, or you feel attacked, or you just feel their negative energy coming at you, if you react, it gives them something to push against. And I don't know if you know this about animals. The Horse Whisperer, I think, that movie with Robert Redford. He learned that if he pushed a horse, the horse is going to push back. So it's just an automatic reaction that we have. If you push and you feel something push against you, you're going to keep pushing. So that's a reaction. This person does something, you stand up with your reaction energetically, they have something to push against. If you don't have a reaction, then they start going like this, pushing, and they fall over. There's nothing for them to push against. You're not offering any resistance for them to hit up against. And when that happens, the energy can't continue. It has to just fizzle out. So that is a great way to diffuse when you're dealing with somebody. This is good information in general, not just for exes that you're struggling with. The other thing that helped me was to remember that at our core, we are all love, and we all want to be loved. And when we are able to do this and kind of see people through this lens, which I realize can be really hard sometimes, and sometimes it's best to do this when you're not in front of the person, but to start trying to be compassionate towards this person, and knowing that we truly are not separate, that we are all one, and every person that is in your life that you are dealing with is simply reflecting back to you an aspect of yourself. And that's, once again, another hard one to integrate. And maybe I'm just planting a seed here for you. But to remember that at the heart of us all, we are a soul, and we are connected, and we may have forgotten and separated ourselves from, okay, let me say that differently. We may have forgotten and perceive ourselves separated from love, because the truth is you can't actually ever separate from love. It is who we are. We can have the illusion of separation, but we can't actually separate. So just remembering that about our fellow human beings, once again, that is really good in general, because we run into people all the time that we don't agree with, or that are doing things that we don't agree with. And instead of seeing people as our enemy, we can say, this is an aspect of me. This is still an aspect of me, and we are all still love. So that can be a healing, energetic process that we go through that allows us to raise our vibration, because the higher we raise our vibration, the better the things are that we're coming into contact with, meaning the better our manifestations are and our experiences are that we are creating in our reality. Another thing that is really, really helpful is to let go of guilt and shame. So that can come about for many reasons and in many forms, but at the heart of it, sometimes because we've separated from our child's parent, we will just have intrinsic guilt about that. Like, why didn't I stick it out in the relationship? Maybe it would have been better for my child. Look how my child may be seeming to suffer because we're not in the same home. Maybe we're guilting ourselves or shaming ourselves because we can't get along with their parent. And what I've learned is guilt and shame hold us stuck in the vibration that we don't want. So the sooner we can heal that, notice where we're feeling guilt and shame, and start clearing that, that's going to make a huge difference. So kind of the whole point of all of this and all these processes that I've spoken about is to just make it clear that nothing can change in our experience unless we change it vibrationally. And in order to do that, we have to heal and clear and consciously pay attention to our feelings and consciously ask to feel better and allow. So a process that you can do is when you're really struggling with your feelings is to just ask the universe to feel better. That simple. I want to feel better. And the minute you ask, it is given. And if you can get out of your mind and just allow that feeling to come into your body without thought attached, and then notice in your body where you feel it, and just focus on that feeling, that is a real easy way to vibrationally start moving up. You may not get all the way to love or appreciation in the first jump, but you can even keep asking, I would like to feel better, and then sitting. It can become a meditation. I would like to feel better. And the awesome thing about that is you learn your power to dictate how you feel, instead of feeling like everything is in your experience is making you feel a certain way. So something may come in that supposedly makes you feel a certain way, and you can shift that by asking to feel better and taking a moment to see where you feel it in your body, because you will feel it. And then putting your focus where you're feeling that energy or that vibration, or however you want to perceive it. I feel like sometimes it comes in like a feeling of lightness. So however it comes in for you, just notice where it is, how it feels, allow it to expand, and then keep asking, and you'll notice you start to feel better. And so you can start doing this in any situation. And even if you're having thoughts about somebody and it's making you not feel good, you can sit there and ask to feel better. And then when you feel better, you're clearer, you're more connected, and you are able to more easily come up with the right wording that you want to say to somebody. Say you need to send them a message, or you're going to speak with them. It allows you to connect so that inspired thought then comes in. Instead of thinking with your mind, it allows you to think with the mind of the universe, with the quantum field. And that's huge. That's huge. That's a huge transformational piece. And it's made a huge difference in my life. So, you can just tackle this one little bit at a time. Maybe take one piece of this information that resonates with you and kind of focus on that. I know I kind of gave you a lot of information, but like I said, I was really able to transform my relationship with my ex. This is what I did. So I wanted to share that with anyone who's struggling with this situation, and I'm hoping that brings some clarity, maybe some peace, maybe some resolve, and possibly helps your relationship. So thank you guys. Remember, as always, to love yourself. And when you can love yourself, you can love everyone. Thank you.